When things are going well in your life, you have friends everywhere. I mean, they are in every nook and cranny of your life, and they love you. When things are going well, I'm not talking like when your level is 0. I'm talking when your level is like +5. Like you've had some sort of success, some sort of triumph in your career perhaps, or something good, positive is going on in your life. You attract friends, quote unquote, friends who aren't really friends, they're just acquaintances. And these acquaintances make you feel terrific because they always smile at you. You know, when your life is at +5, let alone +10, they smile at you and they make you feel great. And the greater the heights that you scale, curiously enough, the more interesting and attractive and cool are the people who call themselves your friends, your fair weather friends. Those fair weather friends, I mean, they come out of the woodwork when you get a +5 or a +10 in your life. When you're at 0, you know, it's the same old people that you see every day, but you're at +5, you're at +10, you're peaking for some reason. When that happens, everybody loves you and everybody wants to be your friend, your best friend. And everybody calls you a genius. Everybody calls you, you know, the greatest thing since sliced bread. I remember when I got my first book deal, it was pretty lucrative and it was pretty high profile. I went to this party in LA. This girl I'd never met before, she somehow caught wind of what was going on. And she grabbed me by the arm and dragged me throughout this party, calling me a genius. And, you know, referencing my work. She hadn't even read it. She had no idea really what it was about. I was just a genius because other people were calling me a genius and she wanted to attach herself to me. And that's the classic definition of the fair weather friend, right? And this individual called me a few times to get together, parties, this, that, the other. You know, it was only after a while that I realized that she was just a leech, but that's for another video. The point, when you're at +5, +10, the people who come to you, who make you feel good about yourself, they make you feel as if you're at +20, +30. They are the best drug in the world. They really are. But when you're at 0 and then something happens, and then you go to -5 or perhaps -10, well, those people, they vanish, of course. And what's interesting is that a lot of the people, a lot of the acquaintances that you thought were friends, that you thought, you know, you were in good with, they vanish too. As some of you may know, right now I'm going through a rough patch, but you know, ups and downs, the vicissitudes of life, no big deal. But my point, a lot of people whom I thought were like friendly acquaintances, you know, they vanished. But what's interesting to me is not those people who vanished, which I expected, because that always happens, by the way. The people who you thought were friends or at least friendly acquaintances, they vanish when things go negative. What's interesting is not the people who vanish. It's the people who stay. It's the people who are around you and reaching out to you when you're at -5, at -10. Those are the people that you have to be paying strict attention to, because those are the people who matter. See, you're at -5, you know, you had some screw up at work, something went wrong, or in my case, you know, a lot of shit being flung my way, a lot of shit that is just bullshit, but that's for another video. Anyway, the thing is, see, all this shit smearing makes people afraid, and it's quite natural, and they run from you because they don't want to drown with you. They don't want the shit that is sticking to you to stick to them. And that's a perfectly normal human reaction. To begrudge this of people is foolish. There are very few people who, when they look at somebody covered in shit, they realize that it's just shit that is covering them. It's not permanent. It can be wiped off and will be wiped off in time. The people who are wise enough or smart enough to see through the bullshit and see who you really are and reach out to you when you're at -10, -20, when you're feeling pretty low. Because, of course, when shit gets flung your way, of course you feel down in the dumps. You wouldn't be human if you didn't. But my point, those friends who come to you in your moment of need, in your moment of weakness, and they reach out to you, they get in touch with you, they send a little note telling you to get in touch with them just to chat. There was somebody that, point of fact, I'd never met before, never spoken to, somebody I admired, a YouTuber. And this individual very kindly reached out to me. I wound up talking to this person for 2 hours. Lovely individual. I'm not going to be indiscreet and mention them, but my point is that this person didn't have to do that. They had no need, but they did it because they're a decent person. See? See, you only find the decent person when you're covered in shit. You only find a potential true friend when you're covered in shit. And they know that this is just transitory, that this isn't real, that the shit that smears you is not a real thing. That, yeah, sure, you're at -5, but you're not worth -5 or -10 or -20. You're worth a lot more. Those people, the people who reach out to you in your moment of, setback, those are the people you want in your life. Those are the people you're really going to value into the future. Now, on the flip side, you're in your business, your industry, your career, whatsoever it may be, or your social life, and somebody somebody you might be friendly with, maybe even semi-good friends with, some setback afflicts them. Some setback, they get covered in shit. You should look very carefully at that person, and you should reach out to them. See? Because apart from the obvious Machiavellian utilitarian thing that they will value you more and in the future they might help you in some way, but in a very real sense, see, you have to think to yourself that you yourself will be covered in shit at some point in your life. And you would want somebody to reach out to you in your moment of, not quite despair perhaps, but just misery and embarrassment and what have you. Or maybe even it is despair. Well, you'd want somebody to help you out, so you should do the same. It's sort of like that pay it forward kind of thing, but the thing that happens is that this kind of pay it forward shit actually works. See? I don't know, there's like some karmic force out in the universe that I do believe helps people out in that regard. And punishes them too. But again, that's for even yet another post. My point. If you see somebody who's down in the dumps, reach out to them. What does it cost you? It costs you nothing. And it could mean a great deal to that person, because that person might be very, very low at that moment. They might be feeling, yeah, sure, their setback was a -5, but all the shit that's being thrown on them, all the belittling makes them feel -10, -20. You reach out to them. What does it cost you? Nothing. And it means a great deal to them. And maybe you don't get anything out of it. So what? Not everything is utilitarian. It's not all power politics. Sometimes, a cigar is only a cigar, right? Helping other people when they are down, especially people who are valuable, in the sense of not valuable to you, but people who have inherent value. People who you realize are good people, down in the dumps for a bit, but they'll come back. Because you can't keep a good man down now, can you? See, reach out to these people. Don't be afraid. Nobody's going to think less of you for reaching out to somebody who's down in the dumps. On the contrary, nobody will dismiss you and say, oh, this guy is covered in shit and Johnny went and talked to him and said a few nice words. Nobody's going to say anything to you. Nobody's going to say anything to Johnny who, tried to comfort and give a little solace to this poor individual covered in shit, right? But it will matter. It will matter in the great karmic scheme of things, and it will matter to you. Especially because you will find out that a lot of times the shit that's covering them is not real, and that it'll pass. And the people flinging the shit will be, See, life is very, very short. We think it's long. It's not. It's exceedingly short. But even in this incredibly short life that we have, things come back. What comes around goes around. The goodness that you toss out to somebody who might need it will most likely then not come back to you at some point. And the shit that gets flung on somebody, sometimes that shit gets flung back. Wait, sometimes? Actually, almost always.